Hello, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. Welcome back to the 1961 Airstream Bambi renovation. In today's video, and we're currently in the mock-up stages, just a little bit of discovery, a little bit of fabrication to put it all together, then take it all apart, paint, put some flooring down, and then bring everything back in. But today I have to see if the black tank is in good condition. This is the original black tank, which is mounted above the floor and is about 11.5 gallons. It's made out of a fiberglass resin, and there's one area where waste will go in. That's where the toilet bolts to. The toilet sits on a plywood floor in the wet bath, which a wet bath is what would be a shower and toilet combined. And when you flush the toilet, the waste goes down into the black tank and it holds it, so it's called a holding tank. And then there's a wastegate with a discharge you'd hook a waste hose up to, and then that will allow you to discharge the waste at the campground. The black tank is for toilet waste. And a lot of RVs have a separate gray tank, which would be sink and shower waste, and a separate black tank, which will be toilet waste. And then some RVs, they combine them. It'll be a combination gray-black tank. Back in 1961, Airstream did not have gray waste tanks. The shower, which I removed the shower pan in a previous video, would drain down below the floor through a P-trap, and then it would tee into the wastegate, the discharge part of the tank. So there would be no way to hold water. You could probably hold about a half a gallon in the pipes, but that's about it. So that would depend on you being directly hooked into a campground's connection to discharge the shower waste when you're showering. And also the sink, the original sink, would have drained down through a P-trap, and then it would have teed off here and went down below the floor and across and teed into the wastegate. And then the top portion would have been the vent that hooks into the vent from the black tank and then goes all the way up through the ceiling. That allows the tank to vent and allows air behind water so everything flows properly. So I'm still coming up with a plan on how I'm going to manage gray waste because there is no room under the trailer to put a gray tank. So I might use some type of macerator pump for the shower waste that will pump it into the black tank, and then the sink itself will gravity drain into the vent for the tank, and then I'll have 11.5 gallons of wastewater. But what I want to do first is, before I start making any more plans, I want to make sure this tank is not compromised and it does not leak. Because if it does leak, it's going to leak on the floor of the trailer, compromise the plywood, make it soft and delaminate over time. So now I'm at the stage where if I do need to order a replacement custom tank, I can do so. And when you build and order a custom tank, you could get it through the Inca Plastics or Vintage Trailer Supply, and they'll build it to your spec. They do have a tank that is the same exact size. You just have to specify and measure where you would like the fittings, and you have to remember about vents and the discharge. You have to measure all this stuff out so they know where to cut the vents in, because they do make them custom and there is no return. You spend $250 plus on the tank, you want to make sure everything's in the right spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this bucket of water in the tank and see if there's any leaks. Not only in the tank itself, but in the wastegate. So after I empty this bucket of water in the tank, we're going to go outside and check the wastegate and see how that operates and see if that leaks. If it does leak, there are replacement wastegates you could get with the more modern style ABS black plastic Valterra, but in order to adapt to this tank, you have to buy an adapter plate, and Vintage Trailer Supply does sell an adapter plate with the 2-inch hole that this has underneath that will allow you to mate up a newer style Valterra wastegate. One other thing to think about is these original tanks, the discharge, has a fitting on it that is not compatible with any modern style sewer waste hose, and no one makes an adapter for it, and the original style are no longer available. So that's something I really have to think about before I make the investment. So let's get the water in here and see what the outcome is. Okay, so I did spill a little on the top, so I have to, keep in mind some of the water I see here is because I spilled. But inside the tank, it is holding water, so it's not rushing out. Let's take a walk outside and look underneath and see what we have here. Okay. Alright, so underneath is the wastegate. And this is where you would snap on the waste hose and discharge at the campground. This in here is the feed from the kitchen sink. And this is a separate discharge that's broken off. And around this side here is the trap underneath the shower, and then it comes off and then tees into this wastegate here. And it looks like this brass wastegate is screwed onto this fitting here, and then all the screws are all completely rusted. And then there's a plate fiberglass right into the bottom of the tank itself that has these studs on it. So these are notorious for leaking, so I believe this will be at the point where I can't use this because the wastegate's leaking. So if you were to use the toilet and put waste in the toilet, it would be dripping out, even if you had a cap on the end here. So this needs replacement. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to order adapter plates, about $100. It comes with studs and an O-ring. I have to get these bolts off, put the adapter plate on with new studs, and then I could put a standard Valterra wastegate on, and then I could redo the plumbing the way I want. But as you can see, these old trailers don't have a really large or high ground clearance, and you could get a newer axle with an axle lift and give you higher ground clearance, but does change the aesthetics. So I want to get as slim as possible on there. So now what I'm going to do is I want to discharge the waste and use original operations just to see how this works. So back in the bumper here, there's a hole, and this is a little lock assembly. And what you do is you put on this tool and you slip it on. And once you lock it in, you could pull straight out, and now will open the wastegate and allow the waste to discharge. Comes out pretty fast. So even though it does drip a little bit, it does hold quite a bit of water. I'm wondering if I do a little bit more research, maybe I could rebuild it, because it does function pretty good. Well, this is Patrick with New Jersey's Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video, comment, share, subscribe. I'd love it. And we'll see you soon.